after you're done creating it. So let's review again last class. We were talking mostly about segues, where you go from one screen to the other, and talking about passing data. If you remember, to pass data, we were looking at how you would use the segue destination. And basically, we were taking the text that the person put in the text field. That text field we called, what did we call the text field? Text field right here. This is the name of it right there. Text field was called text field. And we were changing the text of it to be the title of the second page to be the text we put in the text field. Basically, that's what it is. Okay, so if you look at the main storyboard, you'll see this is text field. Person types in text. We hit button. It goes to the next one, and it puts it up here, whatever you type in there. So we're passing data from one to the other. In addition, we talked about how we could use the navigational controller. So this is kind of like a wrapper. The term they use is called a wrapper. It kind of wraps around your view controller, and then you add things to it. It like brings views in and removes them. And think of it like that. The analogy they use in the book is like a deck of cards. So think of it as a deck of cards is what they use, and then so you're like passing in. This is like the wrapper on top. Okay, and then it has automatic navigation. And I was looking at the mail, you know, and it's totally that. When you're using your email on your iPad, it's basically that navigation right there. Let me get my adapter here so we can look at the iPad. And so the other beauty is if you read the information about, let me get to my mail. So again, yeah, see the mail, the mail thing, and you got mailboxes. See how it goes back and forth, and so on. So we got that. And don't forget, oh, now that I see that, we're gonna have the VR demonstration on April 19th. Right? It's on a Thursday afternoon. I have Valentin. He is from Russia, but he lives in San Francisco. And he's going to bring some VR headsets for you. And he's going to talk about how he makes VR and so on. It'll be April 19th, and it'll be in that big room at the end of the hall down there. Free food. If you don't come for the VR and try the headset, just come for the free food. Okay? We're going to have lasagna. So we're going to have meat and vegetarian. He's a vegetarian, so I must get vegetarian for him as well. Okay? It's 12:30 on April 19th. It'll be at the end of the hall. It's a big... He has a variety of different ones, so he doesn't specialize in one product. He is a person who is very adaptive. And he'll talk a little bit about the difference and maybe how he makes it. I think that's the important thing. He basically uses scanners. And the scanner, so it's not like, you know, you've probably seen a lot of VR around today. It's the big buzzword. And a lot of them are done with a camera, kind of a camera with multiple lenses that go around, a 360-degree kind of thing. And his is different. He specializes in high-end VR, which is very detail-oriented. And what they use is a laser scanner. So the thing kind of spins and it takes laser points of a whole room. And it takes many days to crush all that data down into the VR headset. And he'll explain a little bit about that. So it's a little bit different than the camera. But he does know about the camera one, and I told him, bring some of that if you have that too as well. But it might be fun. Again, April 19th, into the hall. The room is 131, the biggest room. Holds 60 people, more than that, I think maybe 80 people, so we should all fit, and then we'll have food, okay? I just saw his email, that's why I said that. But a lot of the applications. The other one is, of course, the next chapter in this book, and we'll do this a little bit after we do the next one. Remember the tabbed menu in the one? We'll do a tabbed menu at the bottom like this, right? The music library has this one down here, this other type of navigation, right? You might want to do that too, because we're going to eventually do that. It's the next chapter in the book. what are we, 3.6 right now, 3.7 I guess, something like that, right? Yeah, we'll do that eventually. And again, though, in the music one, you can see it right here. And we'll probably do a music sample. I'd like to do the music sample one. So in the future, you might want to try that as well. Okay, let's get back to the computer here. Again, let me test this so you can see what's going on, and then we'll start again. In order to continue, they want you to remove all the code and stuff. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Hold on one second. So again, you can put in something in here, something, and then when you hit the button, it goes there, and you got your something up there. Well, my iPad is not participating in my there we go. So again, and then you can go back and forth. And then if you go to this one, remember we did the dismiss, right? If you remember how we did the dismiss, it was basically by using this feature right here, the exit feature, where we wrote some code called outlet, or where was it? Right here. Unwind segue, unwind segue. So it's UI storyboard segue, and we kind of did something called unwind right here, unwind seg. And basically, you went back to the red. So it's like it went back to the top level. Remember thinking of your cards, right? The unwind segue would go back to the top. And it not necessarily having to use the navigation or controller either. You can just do the buttons. But that was that one. Okay? So let's continue from where we left off. And so the next example that they have in the book is to have a button that you're testing to see, is the button on or is it off? Not a button, but a switch. Is the switch on? Is the switch off? And if the switch is off, go here. If the switch is on, go there. So making a kind of decision. If it's on, go to this section. If it's off, go to that section, right? Because you want something like that. So again, I'm on page 350 in the book here. Build and run your app, we just did that. Sometimes you'll need to use some logic to determine whether or not to perform a segue. Every segue that you've created at this point was involved dragging the button to a view controller. But you create a segue this way, it will be performed when the button is pressed. In this section, you'll define a few generic segues between view controllers and decide whether they should be performed. Before you begin, restore your application to a clean slate. Remove all existing segues, controls, and labels from your storyboard. You also need to remove any outlets you've created, as well as prepare for segue sender and unwind segue, the red method. Your app should look like this when you're done. So they want you to actually get rid of everything. So this is a good idea of how to get rid of things, right? So the first thing I'm going to get rid of is the segues. You can click on them that are in between the two. So right now I'm going to click between the red one or the yellow one and the green one. Do you see that? The little line that's in between there. Notice how I made it blue. And you can hit the delete key on the keyboard to remove that. Here, I'll do it again. Between the yellow one and the red one, I can click on the little line that's in between that. Do you see that? And hit the delete key on the keyboard. That'll go away. So that's how you can remove the segue. And in addition, so we want to keep this one, though. I know they don't say that, but if you look at the drawing, this is the root one. See the root one? So this is kind of there. So keep this one. Don't remove that one. If you did delete that one, how do you fix it? If you remember... I think last class, remember I was not getting this and I had to fix that. How I fixed that was I went in here to the option. Oh, jeez. How did I do that? I clicked on here and show navigation. Where was it? It was over here. Is initial view controller, I think. That was the thing I had to check. So do you remember the mistake we kind of made? And you might run into that. Is if you drag a view controller out of here and it's not connected, and I had to go and click on this box right here to make that work, if you remember that. Okay, so it also says to get rid of all the other programming that we've done. So again, easiest way to get rid of the program, just go to the view controller and then get rid of all the outlets. So I'm going to delete all these outlets, and then the override one down here is this one right here, and we're going to remove that. So this is back to generic. Do you see it? Back to generic. So I went to the view controller and removed all the programming that I entered to go back. Again, I'm on page 350 in the book. Told you to get rid of all the stuff. And so I removed all, but of course these are the default ones. You don't want to get rid of this, and of course you don't want to get rid of this, right? And of course this is the top level one here, and then we have our import UI kit, right? So I removed all the program that I added previously, as well as we removed all the segues that were in here earlier. And then I don't think this dismiss, since this exit, since we deleted the programming, this is probably not working anyways because we removed the outlet for that. So, and they tell you to get rid of the buttons too, so get rid of the buttons. We're going to get rid of that button, get rid of that button. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm set. There you go. And then if you want to make yours look like theirs, you can move your screen up. What do they have? Yellow on top, right? And then they have green on bottom. Kind of like this, right? I'm looking at the page in the book. It kind of looks like that, right? So we got rid of the buttons, we got rid of the segues, and we removed the programming. And any questions? I was page 350. Let's move on. In this example, you'll place two buttons in the red view controller. One button will segue to the yellow screen. The other will segue to the green. The UI will also include a UI switch that we determine whether or not either segue should be performed. If the switch is enabled, the segue be performed. Otherwise, the segue will not take place. So again, if it's not on, then don't do something. If it is on, then do something like that. Okay, so if you look there, we're going to put our two buttons on the screen. And then begin by placing two buttons and a switch from the library. So we come down here, and again, we're putting it on the red one. So let me zoom into the red one. Let me zoom into the red one. And then I'm going to go to the button, like that. And I'm going to drag my button out there, and one of them says push to yellow, push to yellow. Oops. And then the other one says push to green, push to green, and then a switch. A switch is S-W-I-T-C-H. Oops. C-H switch, and we can put that one out there as well. So we have a switch. We have push to green, push to yellow. In this example, it's don't be too concerned with creating constraints, the position of views, and everything students says. And so let's not worry about constraints is what they're saying right now. I know, you should practice your constraints. I was spending a lot of time trying to help you with constraints last week and last class as well. It just takes time. You just need to try it and work, and then eventually it'll come out. It's like Photoshop, right? It took you so many years to learn Photoshop, didn't it? The constraints, I'm still struggling. The easiest way that I found is to try and find something that is fixed and then try and constrain other things to that. Is what I've tried to do. Okay, on page 352, in order to perform the segue in code, you'll need to give each segue a valid identifier string. Select the segue itself by tapping on the segue line in the attributes inspector name, one identifier yellow and the other green. So, where was I at? Oh, sorry, we skipped. I jumped a little bit here. In the gallery there, they show you how to do a different type of segue. If you look, they're dragging actually from the top section, the top. Again, on page 351, if you take the little graphic that's in the middle there and move it, you'll see the second part of the segue there. Yeah, here, the book. Yeah, so here. Oh. And in the other book I use, they do the same thing. And the other book I've used, they've done the same thing. So again, this is what it looks like right now, right? This is what it looked like right now. So we push two buttons on the screen, and then in a red update, and then the title of one button, push yellow, and the other, push green. Place the switch below the buttons as shown below. In this example, don't be too concerned with creating constraints and blah, blah, blah. And then they want you to drag from the top. If you look here, you'll notice you have this button right here, this little red thing, or yellow thing right here. See how? Oh, so sorry. I should put one on one side. You want me to put one on one side and one on the other? Here we go. How about that? There you go. So you can see one on the other and one on the book on the one, right? Can you see the book on one? Okay, there we go. See, we should take advantage of our technology. Okay, so again, see this little yellow thing right here? Again, just like you control, so instead of connecting the button, you're going to connect the entire view controller to another one. Okay, so again, it's instead of connecting this stuff down here, I'm going to click up here. See where it says red? Hold down the control key and drag to one. Did you see that? Hold on the control key and drag to one, and I believe you need to drag to both. And it says manual segue. Hold on a minute. I'm going to jump to the second page and see where it says, in order to perform the segue code, you need to give each segue a valid identifier string. Select the segue itself by tapping the segue line in the attributes inspector. Name identifier yellow. So what do we want? We want manual. We want to show. We want to show. And I believe so. And then we're going to click on this. And then the identifier here, over here, see where it says storyboard segue? We're going to call it yellow, Y-E-L-L-O-W. Do you want me to do that again? Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'll do it again. Hold on. Let me delete this. To do it again, instead of using the button down here, we want this to segue to the yellow, but we want to do it manually. So again, see the little yellow thing at the top up here? I don't know what this is called, but whatever. I'm going to hold the control key down, click on that, and I'm going to drag to the yellow, right? I'm going to release the mouse, and I'm going to say show. I believe I want to do show. I don't think I think it's show. I think I want to do show. Yeah, show. Show, and then it puts the thing there. Then I'm going to click on the line itself, and where it says segue up here, see where it says storyboard segue? If you're in the attributes inspector right there, we're going to put the word yellow, Y-E-L-L-O-W. Remember, it's capital letters because we're probably going to have to do that. And I think we need to do that to the red one too. And the green one. Do the same thing for the green one. So again, we're going to click on the yellow thing up here, hold the control key down, drag from here down to the green one, release your mouse, go to show, and then click on the line, and then it's going to be green. Green. Like that. Green. So again, click on the line, green.
Jeff, I think I accidentally added the segue the first time, but I didn't make it show. So how do you view it outside of the main storyboard if you have an extra segue?
Segues will show up over here as well. You'll notice I have two of them here, right here. So if you have more than two over here, you can probably select one and delete it if you did it more than once, because it might be over top of each other and you don't see it. Okay, you'll need to check the status of the UI switch in code to determine whether or not to perform the segue. In order to do this, you'll need to create an outlet for the switch. Open the assistant editor, control drag the switch to a valid location within the view controller definition. And so again, to bring up the code, we go to our Olympic symbol right here, right? Olympic symbol, and then I'm going to move some of my windows around a little bit so I have a little bit more space. And then I'm going to hide that for just a minute there. Let me make this a little bigger. Oh, how did I get my, I thought we deleted these. Didn't we delete these? I thought we deleted this stuff, didn't we? Why is this coming back? What is this? This one has all my stuff in it from the previous one. I thought I removed that. Okay, let me see again. It still has all my other stuff in there from previous one. Yeah, I don't know why. I thought I deleted all that. Did I not? See, it's removed here. Where's this one coming from? I don't know where this one's coming from.
Kill it.
Kill it. I don't know where that's coming from. I want this one.
It seemed weird to delete everything.
Yeah, maybe starting over from scratch might have been better. Okay, let me see if I can bring up both of them. I want this and this. I want this one. I don't know where this is coming from. Yeah, there we go. That looks right here. Okay, and then this one I want the main controller. There we go. I don't know why it was giving me a hard time. Here we go. So again, I want to take the button itself, this switch right here, and I'm going to hold the control key down, or option key. Is it control or option? Control, I'm sorry. hold the control key down and drag in here to do an outlet, right? Because we want to be able to program this. We need an outlet in there. And I'm doing it right under the UI view control. This is where I usually put the outlets up here underneath the UI view control right here. I'm going to release the mouse. And again, it's going to be an outlet, and we're going to call it Segway switch. So the name is going to be Segway, S-E-G-U-E, Seg switch. Sorry, Segway. Yeah, Segway with a capital S, S-W-I-T-C-H. S-W-I-T-C-H. That is on page 352. Do you see it over there? So again, I'm dragging it right here. It's a UI switch, Segway switch. It's an outlet, and I'm going to say connect. And this should look like it does on page 352 in the book there. It's an outlet, weak, variable, Segway switch, and then it's UI switch with the exclamation point. Just like it is on page 352. You want me to do that again? Or you see how to do it? It's a control. So all I did was control click from here to here. And then the name I put is called Segway switch. Create an action for each of the buttons by control dragging them from the button to a valid location within the view controller definition. So down here is usually where I put the actions down here below the view did load. And the reason why is if you just look at your generic handout that I gave you, which does not print right for her, I don't know. Maybe you could share with her. I don't know why mine doesn't print right for you. I will find an action one, but usually the actions are down here with the buttons down here, right? Somewhere down there below. Here's the outlets up here, right? And usually I think the actions go down below. So I'm going to put the action down here, and it doesn't need to be in the view load, but maybe after. Create an action button by control dragging from the button to a valid location within the view controller definition. So again, I'm going to go here and I'm going to control down here, and we're going to be an action. So I'm changing from outlet to action for the push, whatever this is called. What is that? Push to yellow, I think was the first one. And then the name is going to be yellow button tapped. Yellow button, capital B-U-T-T-O-N, button tapped, T-A-P-P-E-D. Yellow button tapped. And then it's going to be an event. Yeah, remember there's different types. The default one is touch up inside.
Do you want to change the type to UI button?
Action UI button. No, it just says any on the thing there. It could be any. I don't know. They have any in there. Wait, what's the default? No, I don't even remember what was it. Yeah, I think any is fine. Red, action, red, yellow. I think this is right. There we go. So again, it's an action function, yellow button tapped with the underscore here, sender, any, like that. And then one more for the green one down there as well. And that is going to be an action because we're doing something with an action. And then it's going to be green button tapped, and then any is fine, all this sender is fine, and then we connect, and so just like there, so we're down here, and then we can turn the page. In order to perform a segue programmably, there's a method that exists to view controllers called perform segue within identifier sender. The first parameter for this method takes a string which corresponds to the identifier that you assign the segue in the attributes inspector. The sender parameters in addition information that you can supply to the segue regarding which controller triggered the segue, but it is not needed in this example because it can be nil, which means it's nothing. Call the perform segue with identifier sender method in each method only in the case is set to the on position. So basically, if this is on, then they go to the segue. If it's off, then it doesn't do anything, or nil, right? I guess that's what I'm assuming here. So inside there's an if statement. If it's on, then go to yellow. If it's off, go to green. Where does the word green and yellow come from? I'm assuming that it's the name of the title here.
No, it's the identifier
Yeah, see this?
No.
No.
It's the, remember when we clicked on this?
Oh.
Identifier, capital.
Yes, that's the name that we put in the box.
That's the identifier.
Yeah, in the box. Remember the name in the box for the Segway, right? That's where the yellow and green come from. So inside these curly brackets here, they're going to put an if statement. So there's going to be if Segway switch dot is on with capital O. We're going to do, oops, switch, if they spell switch right. Yeah, I can see I spelled switch wrong. Switch on. Then what do we want to do? We want to perform with identifier yellow sender. PREFORMSEGUE with identifier and then the name we put on the Segway. That's capital. Don't forget your capital. And then comma sender, and then it's nil. And then did it automatically put a curly bracket in there? Probably not. Where's my curly bracket? There we go. So we could just copy this. Let's just cheat, copy this, and we'll put it down here. And of course we're changing yellow to green, green like that. So if the Segway is on, perform the thing. If it's off, there. What am I getting? Error message. Did I spell perform? Did I spell perform wrong? Perform Segway. Perform. What is it saying? Use of unresolved identifier.
Yeah, this is preform.
Preform. Oh, I spelled wrong.
Switch the
E and a R. Jeez. I know. Boy, that's so easy. Yes. We'll blame it on Sister Rita. Yeah. My English teacher was Sister Rita. For a couple years, I had Sister Rita as my English teacher. She still teaches today, can you imagine? She's in her 70s.
She loves it.
She's never going to stop. Sister Rita? She's a nun. She loves teaching. There you go. So let's test it. Again, all we're doing is testing to see if the switch is on and off. So here we go. Let me save. Let me test. So if it's on, I go to green, go back. If it's off, I don't go anywhere. On, I go to yellow, go back to red. So again, this navigation or controller is so nice because it keeps track of where you're going. If I'm in red or if I'm in yellow or green, all it does is give you this back button. I mean, it's almost like the breadcrumbs in web design, right? Right. So it's giving you a back button that goes back to wherever you came from. I mean, they built it right in there to that.
And that's pretty much the back button built in from the code of
No, the back button comes from this navigation controller right here. So again, this thing is like it keeps track of where you're going. Remember the card's going under, and it recognizes which one you put under there, and then goes and removes that one. It's been removing things. It just you think you're going back, you're not really going back. You're just removing the view.
So what does that do? Just a card in front of it, and then it removes that last.
Yeah, it's like stacks on top of each other.
Oh, you know when we were looking at the mail app?
Uh-huh.
It